But let's get into the Disney news. And WDW Pro, you alluded to it earlier, plus you dropped an exclusive about it earlier this week. What's going on with Lasseter, the man who single-handedly was the brain that made Pixar what it is, and who rescued Disney Animation after Iger acquired Pixar back in the day? And then, of course, they fired him over some Me Too BS, to be quite frank. What's
too
going
much
on?
Hugging. He's like Danny Tanner. He's just too much hugging, I tell you. But so Disney thought that when they got rid of him, that he probably would not land somewhere and do the same things that he had been doing. I don't know why they thought that, but clearly they must have, because why would you let Jon Lasseter go anywhere else? But and I'll tell you this too. So there was a comment given to me earlier in the week when we were breaking this about how, well, Disney had to fire him. His behavior was just atrocious. And I'm thinking, and yet Apple's willing to do business with him? Which one is it? Is he atrocious or is he hireable? Which one is it? But anyway, so he gets picked up by Apple, and he comes in and works on that last movie that did Luck. You could tell that he came in late in the game, but you could also start to see some of the sparks of creativity and efficiency that he brings to the table. The magnificent storytelling, not so much, because, again, he comes in later on. However, what's been happening is that Lasseter has taken a very proactive approach to working with Apple, to creating an animated pipeline like he had at Pixar. And there are really three major problems that Disney has right now in regards to that. Problem number one is that Lasseter has been highly effective at poaching out Disney legends to come work with him. Again, if Lasseter is such a horrible, terrible person with such atrocious behavior, how is he luring people away from Disney who are largely responsible for Disney's successes? So when you look at this next movie coming out, Spellbound, we've got Alan Menken coming over to do the soundtrack for that movie. That is not a small catch. That's one of the key components, one of the major players who made the entire Disney Renaissance happen. So Alan Menken, not scared to cross that line, not afraid that Disney will then blacklist him, of course. And so he's going to go over there and help Apple out at a time when Disney can't break, the top 3 in animated feature films in terms of box office. And that's just the beginning of people going over, crossing the line, and working with Jon Lasseter over at Skydance. Okay, second thing that's happening, and this is a key thing, is that as it becomes apparent that Pixar is no longer the top dog, as it's becoming apparent that Disney Animation is no longer the top dog, we're seeing Illuminations doing exceedingly well. Now we've got Skydance under the direction of Jon Lasseter. What's happening, I'm told, is that the graduates and the up-and-comers who would have previously at the extremes, right? So at the genius level extremes, the top 5%, let's say, of your graduates and your creatives, your animators, all those individuals, they are now considering Skydance above Pixar. They're now considering other studios above Disney. And with Jon Lasseter there, he is able to pick out the cream of the crop and bring them over to Apple. Now, you think about that. You might say, well, no, come on, Pro. Pixar is still, that's the prestigious place to be. Oh, really? You don't think somebody coming out of one of the top schools looks at Apple and says, oh, wait, no, Apple's something. I'll go with Apple. You better believe it. And especially to work under Jon Lasseter, you better believe it. And so what that's doing is
Skydance Apple?
Yes, it's under the direction of Apple, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was the direction of another studio.
No. And so Lasseter is now acting as essentially, it's sort of like the comparison we've made is college football, where Lasseter now is the coach who has had the winning season or is beginning to have that winning season. And everybody's looking and saying, no, wait a minute, he won championships and they removed him. They're not doing so well over here at Team Pixar. I think I'm going to go join the old championship coach and see how that goes. So what that's doing is that's purging the genius levels out of the up-and-comers going into Pixar and Disney.
Well, not just that, Pro, you were brought up last night that there was some other people that were going over there that used to work with Disney. In fact, one of the pillars in the rebuilding of the Disney Renaissance. He said is going to be working with it.
We're talking about Alan Menken, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and I like the football coach analogy because it kind of you kind of saying that basically he is Nick Saban. And everybody's like, wow,
Sure.
who wouldn't want to work with Nick Saban?
Right, exactly. And it's culture. So think about this too. Here's the cool thing about that. So let's say that the argument is, oh, well, no, people don't want to work with him because he was fired from Disney, right? He was marched out of Disney. So here's the question though. Does that not just weed out the crazies? Because the actual sane people then are going to say, oh, no, that's Jon Lasseter. I'm going to go work for him. And the crazies are the ones who will then say, no, I'm not working with a guy like that. So he's literally filtering out the wokesters just by virtue of what happened to him. Now, the third thing that's happening, and this is the big one, this is what we reported on, and I'll tell you how I got it. So a source came to me, and, of course, I don't give away sources. I don't give away the information about them. The source came to me, and clearly I'm very confident in the source. The source had seen Spellbound, which is the next big movie from Lasseter. They've seen it. Of course, now we're talking about very early in production. Okay, so we're, lots of stuff not even animated in the least. Lots of storyboards. But they've seen the movie. They love it. They say it's fantastic. It's devoid of all the crazy stuff that Disney's involved in. They said it felt like watching an old school Pixar film. And the big thing they said is that whatever they found out when they were brought in to watch this movie, Apple is now considering putting that film and future films coming through Jon Lasseter into theatrical release. So Apple will then become a direct competitor at the box office to Disney. And that is huge, huge news.
Well, Skydance has been growing by leaps and bounds in reputation. Again, not the animation specifically because of Lasseter. To me, it's just not surprising. And again, Disney got rid of this guy because he hugged people too long. He was a huggy guy, and
Culture. What's the real reason?
He was in power, and they needed to take him down a peg and put some of their other people in place
because
stopping all this woke stuff.
Yeah,
people who didn't like to listen to an old white man with experience. That's what it boiled down to.
Yeah,
you had several of these people who are basically the ones responsible for the civil war going on right now at Disney.
Yeah.
Or at least now it's pretty much subsided because Daddy Iger's back and he's going to do exactly what Chapek was going to do anyway, but they'll lap it up because it's Daddy Iger. At that point aside, all the
they'll lap it up while he fires them all.
Exactly. The wokey wokes came after Lasseter. They couldn't find jack shit on him. So they basically made shit up. They gave him a handler to make it look bad. And then they escorted him out of the building. And ever since then, guess what? They haven't had a hit. Not one.
And he went to Apple.
Well, I think, first of all, Pete Docter was a bad choice to lead a lot of these projects that we've recently seen. And again, if I'm not mistaken, he was a Jungle Cruise captain, and he kind of worked his way up through. Am I wrong?
Culture. You're mistaken because Docter, he's simply asking too much of you. That's what's happening here.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
Well,
I'm sorry. You're right.
I'm assuming you and the audience have all heard his quote about Lightyear. Oh my gosh, it's so terrible.
Can you repeat it for those that haven't heard it? Because this cannot be emphasized enough. Like the people that campaigned to get rid of Lasseter, they're the ones that gave us Lightyear and Strange World, and thereby basically tanked the entire Pixar brand. But carry on.
I just want to go on record and say that I am not related to this doctor, even though we do share the same surname.
Go ahead, Pro.
So all doctors aren't related?
Correct.
Wait a minute. I could have sworn
this Pete Docter is not a member of my family, and if he were, he would never have this level of ineptitude associated with him.
Well, inept he is for sure, because claiming that the audience, it was just too much to ask of them to understand Lightyear. That's really, that's not the best public relations statement you could put out. So
you're basically saying that there's two ways to look at it. One is that, the audience, they were just too dumb and unenlightened plebs for our movie. That's one way to look at it. The other is, well, why the hell didn't you make a movie for the audience?
That's a good, yes. That is that's the converse side of that question, isn't it? But yeah, so but Lasseter's not going to do that. And again, coming from somebody who's seen this movie, they're saying that it feels very much like an old school Pixar. So if you think about it, the pipeline that Disney has, if they continue down the path they're on, and we get more movies like Lightyear and Strange World over the next 2 or 3 years, because how are they going to switch? That's what's in the pipeline. But if that's coming out, and then at the same time, Apple's going to start facing them theatrically and facing them in streaming, and if that content looks like what we used to see, with WALL-E or Up, then oh my gosh, they're going to blow Disney out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I mean, if you look at that kind of leadership that Lasseter walks in the door with, and he's going to train a whole new team. I mean, this is the co-founder of Pixar, folks. This is the guy that made the magic in the first place.
He is Pixar.
Yeah,
these companies are not just logos. There's somebody behind them, and
he's more than the co-founder. He's the heart and mind of Pixar. Yeah. The moment he was no longer there, the Pixar magic disappeared.
Well, not just that, Disney magic disappeared, because he was the one who Lasseter helped revive Disney animation. People forget what kind of shape that was in before him.
So the thing that I'm curious about is Skydance got into this animation thing before Lasseter came on board. Luck was something that I guess they wanted to become the next. But what's the name of the studio at Universal? Whatever.
Illuminations.
Yeah. So at some point, Skydance, which has got a pretty good reputation as just a regular movie shop. I mean, they did Top Gun, right? And the Jack Ryan series. I mean, they've got a very good rep, and probably a few dollars. They decide to get into animation. Luck kind of looks like a Pixar movie. Sure. Did they hire a bunch of Pixar ex-employees prior to Lasseter coming on board?
My understanding is they've been picking up quite a number of disgruntled former Disney employees. There's another woman at the top working for Skydance Animation who is someone, I can't remember now the story. Does anybody know the story behind her? One of the other ladies who's at the very top, who was mistreated in entertainment and went over here and sort of lured Jon Lasseter. Does anybody know that story?
I do not. I cannot remember her name. I know the story.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the name.
Culture, what you got? Tell us the story.
I don't have it.
Of an unnamed lady.
Yeah. No,
it brought over a bunch of Disney employees.
That's largely how it flew. It kind of happened. Is another entertainment person ended up leaving, found their way to Skydance because of the ownership there. No, and thank you. And literally did kind of, was instrumental in bringing Lasseter in and some other pieces as well. You know what? I'll spelunk for that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, while you're doing
that, I'm out here on the road. I can't Google as quickly, but
we have a friend of yours joining, Pro. We have Mr. Jonas here. How you doing, Jonas J. Campbell?
Hey-o.
Doing fantastic. Just here to make sure that Pro stays in line.
Oh man,
you're the one who actually sent me this here, so your timing is pretty impeccable.
I thought you were here to keep me in line.
Oh, I wasn't good. My
are you double dutying today, Jonas? Are you double dutying?
My Hungarian brother here.
That's correct. You're not put Kívánok.
I don't speak Hungarian. Baxter, I don't speak Hungarian.
I know. The simple way to say hi in Hungarian is "Szia." There you go.
I'd love to see the two of you live in a watch stream of taxidermia. Just saying, as a great Hungarian bros on YouTube.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I've got setting that aside to steel myself to watch it. So it's in my hard drive, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
Someone actually sent me something in, I believe, Polish, because I mentioned Hungarian content and also woke stuff, and they said, check this out. It was something from 1977. Can't translate the title. First thing I see is a elephant plucking a flower, and I thought, oh no, where are we going with this?
Polish and Hungarian are very different.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of where we are going with this, let us gradually round out this discussion and transition to the next topic.
It doesn't get better for Disney, does it, Andre?
No, it only keeps getting worse because